Hello and welcome to the Stampwheel 2.0 video hop. We are so excited that we get to showcase this fabulous new tool today. So I will be creating a 12 by 12 scrapbook layout to show you how big you can make your wreaths. Okay, so as you can see, I do have the Stampwheel 2.0 here, and I have a piece of cardstock. Now this is just under 9 inches by 9 inches. And you can see that it fits nice and snug in that new larger platform. The stamp set I'm going to be using for the wreath is the Watercolor Extravaganza. I love this one. It means that if you get it slightly off with this one, that it's still going to look cool. It's supposed to look like watercolor, so it doesn't need to be layered perfectly. This is one of the great things about this one here. So I have just placed that into position, and I'm going to go with a kind of 4-point wreath. So that means I'm going to add the cog or the gear into kind of quarter turns to make this wreath. I am going to be using the Dusty Pink for this one, but I felt that it wasn't dark enough, the first kind of stamp for this one. So all I'm going to do is I'm just going to stamp it twice. So once, and then I'm going to stamp it directly on top of itself. And you can see that that's easily done with the Stampwheel 2.0. So once I've got my 4 points of the wreath with the largest flower, and we have the base layer with the Dusty Pink, I'm then going to move on to the second layer of this. So for this one here, I am going to be using that cotton candy ink. And this is just going to add kind of darker points where it would sit if it was watercolor, if that makes sense. So it's not going to give you kind of the perfect placement for a natural looking flower. It's going to look as though this was actually painted with watercolor. So once I have finished with the cotton candy, I'm then going to add the third layer for this one. And this one is going to be done with the blush rose. Because we are stamping this kind of 2 times every time as well, it is going to give you a more soft transition into each of the colors because the ink is a little bit wet. We're then going to move on to one of the smaller flowers, and I've just popped that into position where I want it to be and then picked that up with the lid of the stamp wheel, or the flip plate, sorry. And for this flower here, I am going to be using the mint chalk, and as before, it wasn't as dark as I wanted it to be, so I have gone ahead and stamped all of those layers twice again, and that was with the mint chalk. I'm then going to add in the second layer. And this time around, I'm going to be using the Mountain Mist. As you can see, for these stamps, I am using the conditioning eraser because they are solid stamps. It means that just using the conditioning eraser means that it's going to stamp a little bit better. Once I have finished with that second layer, I'm then going to move on to the third layer, just popping that into position. And like I said, if these are slightly off, it really doesn't matter. You're not going to be able to tell a huge difference. And for the third layer, I did use the Volcano Lake ink for that one. I'm then going to move on to some more of the smaller flowers, and I'm just going to do this one first. This kind of cluster of kind of trumpet-like flowers for here. And this time around, I am going to go in with the Water Hyacinth ink. Again, I've stamped that twice. It wasn't as dark as I wanted it to be, but I didn't want it to go any darker than what it is. So I'm then going to add in the second layer, and this is the Alpine Aster, just to add that in there. Now, the stem on this is a little bit large and it will go over that flower, so I just want to add ink just to the very tippy top. And before I stamp that down, I do kind of wipe away the rest of the ink off the stem with my finger, and that was stamped in with the eucalyptus ink. I'm then going to go in with this final little flower here, and I'm just going to add this one into place. This one I'm going to be using the pink pearl. Now all of these colors I'm using because the kind of picture I'm going to use has this on my cardigan. I did have a lot of pastel-y shades on there, so this is where I've picked the colors out from there. So when you are creating a scrapbook layout, it's really good if you kind of pick out a couple of the colors from there, and then it really helps that flow a little bit better as well. So I only needed to stamp that once. Now I'm going to go on to the second layer of this one, and this one is going to be the Coral Bliss. And again, I'm only going to need to stamp this color once as well. It did have the right kind of tone I was after. So once that has all been done, I'm then going to add in the flower centers to the 2 flowers that have the flower centers. And for this, I'm going to be using the Sun Ray ink to add those in. There is a second layer for both of the flower centers, and I'm just going to use the chamomile to add that in as well. So once that's done, I've then just got kind of the leaves to add into place. So I have this big cluster of leaves. These are all from the same stamp set, the Watercolor Extravaganza. And for those leaves, I am stamping them down in jade. And as you can see, I needed to stamp those twice as well. We have a little stem on this little kind of pink flower that we have. And I'm just going to stamp the tippy top of that again, and just using the eucalyptus for that as well. I'm then going to add a little cluster of leaves up into this kind of corner piece that we have spare up here. And again, I'm going in with the jade, but I just stamped those once. I didn't double stamp those. I'm then going to go in with a little leaf just to kind of go over the ones that we have there already. And that is using the eucalyptus. And then there's our little wreath complete. Just to add a little bit of an extra touch, I'm just going to use the pure white ink spray and just add a little bit of splatter. And this would make a fabulous piece of wall art if you just wanted to use it as is. I now have another piece of cardstock, and this is 11 inch by 11 inches. And I'm going to create my own striped patterned paper using the colours that I used for the flowers. So it's all going to work really well together. So what I'm doing is I'm adding a piece of masking tape down horizontally, and then I'm blending off that piece of masking tape and kind of bringing that in towards the other colour that we already have down. But I'm trying to make it white before it goes into the colour. So the colours I am using for this are the Sun Ray, the Pink Pearl, then I have the Dusky Pink. This one here is the Alpine Aster. The Water Hyacinth was a little bit light, so I changed it for the Alpine Aster. And then we have the fabulous Mountain Mist. It's one of my favorites, and it will be my favorite forever, I think. So as you can see, I'm using the same piece of tape, and I'm just adding that color into the over to the right, or over to the left, sorry. Yeah, so I'm blending off the tape. And as you can see, I'm just doing the edges where you're going to be able to see it. You don't need to do the whole strip if you're not going to use the whole piece. If you can kind of taking out this center portion, you could do, but I don't see the need in that. Before I move on to the next color, I do use a piece of kind of kitchen roll or kitchen tape, kitchen roll or tissue, just to kind of get rid of the excess ink off the tape, because I do keep using this again and again, and I don't want to waste my tape. This is very special satin masking tape from Altenew, and I only use this on very special occasions. But you can see just how well this works to create your own pattern paper. You could definitely use this technique on a smaller scale to create your own really fun backgrounds on your cards, but you could use this anywhere else as well. I just love this technique. It's something that I haven't done for a while, but I thought I would bring it back for this. So now you can see that we have this piece of cardstock that we're then going to add on to the 12 by 12. Before I do that, I am going to muss up the edges a little bit. So I'm just kind of making a lip on this. Again, this technique can be used for cards as well. Don't just think that, oh, I'm making a scrapbook here, these can only be used for that. No, they're not. You can use all of these techniques to make your cards. If you did the wreath like I did with that 9x9, you could make lots of different panels out of that for your cards in one go. So it's really cool to kind of take these techniques and use them on cards on a smaller kind of piece. Once I have finished doing the edges on the larger piece, the piece where we created our own scrapbook paper, I've then added that into place onto a piece of 12 by 12 with some ultra sticky tape from Altenew. I've then done the same with the edges on the smaller piece, the one that we did the wreath on, and then added that into place. So I wanted to add a little bit of a layer behind my picture that we have here, and I didn't want to add a really solid layer, and I found this Moroccan scrapbook paper from Altenew, and we do still have this in store, and this is so cool. So I've just added that behind just to add a little bit of difference, a little bit of layering behind that picture. I'm just going to add that onto the piece, onto my picture, using some instant dimension foam tape, and then add some more foam tape directly on top of it. So kind of sandwiching that lace paper in between. I then have a whole load of the enamel dots from Altenew. So I've just picked out colors that kind of closely matched the inks that I use. So we do have enamel dots that are named directly after our color families, but if you don't necessarily have those, you might be able to find a close match in something that you do have. So take a look, spend some time and find which enamel dots are going to work for you. And I've just clustered those around the picture. I then have these fabulous alpha stickers from Altenew, and I'm just going to use these to add in the title, which is Altenew Family, just on the side of the picture there. And that is my layout complete. I do love how that wreath turned out, and you could definitely use this as wall decor. So that is it from me today, but don't remember we do have a blog hop going on, so please check out the rest of the other designers' beautiful projects to see what they did using the Stampwheel 2.0. Hey there, Lydia here. I really do hope that you've just enjoyed the video. If so, please subscribe to the Altenew YouTube channel. Also, turn on the notification bell so you can get your daily dose of crafty techniques and tutorials just like this. Thank you so much for watching. Bye-bye.